this new wavefront sensor for the Gemini MCO system. So very quickly, a quick reminder on what the Gemini MCO system is. So it's a multi-laser system using 5 laser guide stars. It's actually a single Toptica, which is splitted in 5. It's not the same split as what you showed this morning. It's an optical split. But yeah, it's a single laser split it into 5. And then so you receive the light into the AO bench, which is here. Basically, the telescope is supposed to be above that. So there are 3 deformable mirrors, or there were space for 3 deformable mirrors. So right now there are 2 working, one conjugated at 0 and one conjugated at 9 km. There's a T-tip mirror, and after that you have the dichroic sending the near-infrared light to the science. So this is I just picked one example of typical science that you can get. So something like you get resolution almost diffraction limited in the near-infrared. So in this example, that would be like 100 mass across a large field of view. So it's 90 arc-seconds across the field of view. And then, so all of the visible light goes into the wavefront sensing area. So we have the laser guide star wavefront sensor, and then we have this natural guide star wavefront sensor, which is the purpose of this upgrade, which has been done recently. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to tell you what was the previous NGS, what is the new one, and some results that has been obtained very recently on Sky. So the previous natural guide star wavefront sensor were actually made by 3 probes. There were something like this laser. So they were patrolling the field, like 3 small probes to acquire the stars. And basically inside each probe, so you had the focal plane of F16, and then there is a small pyramid, even though it's not a pyramid wavefront sensor, but it's just to split the light into 4. And then there were very small parabola that were injecting light into fibers and send that into APDs. So basically, this was a nightmare to align. It had a very low throughput, like something like 4% at the end. So it was a waste of photons. We spent quite some time trying to upgrade and align that, but it was just impossible. And yeah, so 4% optical throughput, that was very bad for Sky coverage. The other main issue is the field of view that each of these probe adds was something like 1 arc-second or 1.5 arc-second, so that was very small for acquisition. And on top of that, there are some distortions in the NGS focal plane. So this has been very difficult to calibrate as well. So basically, when you go on a target, you try to acquire, and the star will not be in front of your small probe. Especially because the distortions may be as large as a few arc-seconds, or they may be larger than the field of view. So basically, what we were doing before was to do a spiral search. So you will go on Sky, and we had a very nice spiral tool to try to spiral and get the flux at some point, and this was taking forever. So yeah, so the main limitation, blind acquisition, very low throughput, and a very limited sky coverage. So basically, the V-band magnitude that could be achieved before was 15.5. Under great conditions, means that if the seeing will not be as good as that, then it was difficult. So then the idea was to completely remove this part of the hardware and to do an upgrade with NGS2, so a new natural guide star wavefront sensor. So the requirements that has been sent by Gemini was so to be able to sense 3 natural guide stars, so we need 3 to compensate the plate scale modes. Use a focal plane array that should be able to go up to 800 Hz, no vignetting, and try to improve the limiting magnitude by at least almost to magnitude. Being able to adjust the focus to get minimum size. And no heat dissipation in the AO bench, and have something as simple as possible, so robust and easy to integrate. So this has been developed by ANU, by François. So basically, the final system looks like this. It's quite compact. It's nice, and it's made actually on the main component is this focal plane camera. So it's a Nuvu camera, 512 by 512 pixels, and basically we image the whole field now. So you have this camera looking at the full field. So it's very convenient. You can pick your star. You have like multiple ROI capability. And it's EM gain, so you can really boost the gain to go to faint stars. So the throughput now it's 75%, so we went from 4% to 75%. So that's a huge improvement. So it solves the limiting magnitude and improves by quite a lot the sky coverage. And on top of that, so it simplifies the operations by even a larger order of magnitude than the gain in throughput. And because we see the whole field now, we can calibrate distortions, and it makes things very easy. And there's no moving mechanism because as well, so those small probes that we had before, sometimes they would be stuck, and then here there's no moving mechanism, so it's very convenient. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to the telescope. François is here to implement that into Canopus and to do the first test on Sky. Well, so those are just a screen. So one thing actually, which is not related to that, is that there's a lot of planes passing above Cerro Pachón, but quite a lot actually. At some point, we will not be able to observe for 1 hour, and this is very good for Paranal. And if you can keep that for Amazonas, it will be very, very good because this is a huge overhead in terms of operations actually. So, well, yeah. And now there are much more companies flying in Chile. Before there were just land, so now there are 3 of them, so it's a nightmare. Well, so this is how it looks, basically. So this is the focal plane at the natural gas waveform sensor. So as I said, you see the whole field. So then it's very easy. You can say, okay, so I want to use this star, this star, this star. You click on them, and this will be the region of interest ROI. So then we just do a centroinig on that and get the tip-tilt information. The focus now is taken from the telescope waveform sensor. So it used to be taken by one of these probes. So now it's taken from the telescope. And here, so you have the display with just, okay, the 2 deformable mirrors. So the one which is missing at 4.5 kilometers, that's the tip-tilt mirror. And so everything was working, so we are happy. François brought some champagne, or everything went well. However, we had a lot of clouds, so we could not do everything we wanted to do. So you see a nice picture like this when the laser is propagating through clouds. So what we did was to go on bright targets, so just to test like non-sideral stuff, non-sideral tracking. So basically here in that case, we will be tracking on 3 moons onto Saturn. We tested all of the stuff that were bright enough, so that would be Neptune. We will be guiding on Triton, so one of the moon, and we've been able as well to guide on Vesta. So in that case, you're guiding on an extended target. And basically, the residual that we computed, for instance, on this target was something like 30 mass, so the performance is met. The very last night, we get a little bit more luck with the weather, so we will be able to even acquire some science images. So that's one very compact star cluster in the Large Magellanic Cloud. And basically, so we just demonstrated that we are back to the performance that was before. So again, the field of view, it's 85 by 85 arc seconds, and here, like all the stars, they are like 80 milliarc seconds full width half max. So basically, the system is working, is commissioned. We've been able to close the loop on 17.5 and even go to 18.2. So in terms of limiting magnitude, then that's a revolution. So hopefully, much more science cases will be open now. One thing I guess that we didn't thought about is the transfer function. So just because before we were using APD, so APD, there's no readout time. So basically, the delay that you get in your transfer function is much shorter than with a full detector. So you have to pay the price of the readout time. So basically, the transfer function, the delay that you get is slightly larger. So this will modify a little bit the rejection. However, well, you have more photons, so for a given magnitude, I guess the noise will be smaller. So that's the last slide. So basically, it works. Yes, as I said, so we get a residual of 30 mass on 17.5. So that's fulfilling the requirements, even being able to close on 18.2. So that's a major upgrade for sky coverage and for acquisition again. So we've been calibrating the field distortion as well. So there is a model now that the probes or the window will always go on the star, and even when you're dithering, because if you have distortion when you're dithering, then you're dithering the distortion field as well, so the star will not be in front of your small window. But in that case, so now we have a full distortion model, so no moving mechanism, and it's working well. So looking forward to a new science result with this with this system. Thank you. That's it.